Okay. Hello, everybody. It's myself and Jackie here today. You're probably not expecting to hear from us just yet. You probably weren't expecting to see us until Sunday when you come in. But we've decided just to go through session 5 and also talk to you about a couple of other things in advance of the lesson. So you've got an opportunity to ask any questions, but also on Sunday, we were hoping we'll start at 10 normal time, but we might finish early, finish at 2 o'clock on Sunday. So we're going to go through session 5 worksheets now, and we'll run over it briefly again on Sunday morning and the next part of your chart to fill in, and then we'll go straight into one practical before lunch. So there'll be one treatment done before lunch, and then we'll have a break, and then there'll be second treatment after lunch. There'll also be an opportunity just to go through any of your work with Natalie, who will be checking your work while I'm doing the theory part. You should have done hopefully 2 introductions to 2 case studies now, so we'll be looking for those and just making sure you're up to date with your worksheets and everything. Then there's a chance just to go through any queries and questions again on Sunday. So let us know. But also we just need to know from you now, as soon as possible really, if you're coming in. So if you're coming in on Sunday, let us know. If you're working from home and still joining us, let us know, because you can have a look at the recording now, and anything else that we cover on the day will be recorded. And then Jackie will be around from 1 o'clock for anybody who can set up with a pair of feet and do a treatment, and Jackie can give you some guidance then as well in the afternoon. So it'll be a full session whether you're in class or at home. You'll get all the content. That's the plan anyway. So I think Jackie just wanted to talk to you briefly about the AMP as well, because I think it might be causing just a little bit of an issue for a couple of people. So she's got something to say on that for you.
Yes, thanks, Dawn. Yes, some of you started at the last minute with us, and some of you started after the last minute with us. And we appreciate that some people have had months of opportunity to do their AMP, and some of you are now doing revision. Now, if some of you are halfway through for whatever reason, because of circumstances, then you don't need to take your exam in December. Okay, you can take it after December. We used to have the exam after December in the new year, but we brought it forward, not for our benefit, but for yours, so that if it was like a hard and fast thing to get it done, and then after Christmas, you can concentrate on the case studies, because you've actually got the case studies a lot earlier than past students, because of the situation that we've got now with what we can do. We've actually brought it forward specifically so that when you do have the opportunity to work on feet, you can. So there, we can't just put it in the way that we would have preferred to. So we don't want anybody getting into a state about doing their AMP exam. Some of you are probably ready to take it now, and some of you will be ready in January, maybe February. But the longer you leave it, the more you just worry about it. So we can talk.
It's nice to get it out the way, isn't it, Jackie? I think people noticeably relax more once they've taken their AMP exam.
Yeah, once we did that, the feedback was, thank goodness, and it was noticeable. It was absolutely noticeable. So it's like being cruel to be kind, if you like, but we don't want to be too cruel that people start losing sleep over it. It's not life or death, actually. So we're going to look at the lesson 5. So I've got it here on there. It's now gone and put other things on front of it. We had it already.
Just while Jackie's finding it, it's mainly about communication skills and the anatomy of the foot, which we do have a skeleton foot at the school. We'll find that on Sunday, and we can have a little look at a real one. It's always easier if you've actually got something real to touch and feel and see where the bones actually are. Oh, here we are.
Here we are. And I'm just going to find that. Oh, there we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so you should have completed the worksheets as indicated before the class, completed another case study, client consultation introduction, put it in Dropbox so we can see it, and then you should have read up on circulatory and structure of the foot, and then there's boxes there in your important information. Circulatory problems boxes should have been completed. There's a test in your Dropbox which will pop the answers in for Sunday. So if we start going through the first thing, here are your bones.
One we did earlier.
Yeah, Jackie and I filled this in earlier. So hopefully you'll have already, most of you will have had a chance to have done this before today even, but if you haven't, this is just a little reminder. And it is A&P, but it's also important for a reflexologist to know the anatomy of the foot so that you know what you're feeling. And some of these can be quite easily felt on a lot of people where certain bones are. The navicular is quite easy to feel and find, as is the fifth metatarsal notch there, which is where we find the elbow and knee reflex on there. So we've got the phalanges, which are all the little toe joints, and the first one is also known as the hallux. The hallux is the other name for the big toe or the great toe. And then the other phalange, which you were to label, is the fifth toe there. And then we've got the long bones of the foot, the metatarsals. There's 5 of those. The fifth one is one that often footballers break. Very notoriously, David Beckham broke his and wasn't able to play for a very long time. It's a very painful injury, actually. And then underneath there, you've got the tarsals. You've got 3 cuboids there. Cuneiforms, sorry, 3 cuneiforms, and the cuboid is the one on the outside. I always remember the cuboid by thinking it outside the box, because a cube is a box and it's on the outside, so think outside the box. And then Jackie's labelled also the navicular here, which navicular means boat shaped basically, so you can see if it was turned upside down, it's like a little boat, little cup shaped boat that would float. You weren't asked to label that one, but that's there anyway. And when we're looking at the top of the foot here, you can tell you're looking at the top of the foot because you've got the square there of the talus, the ankle bone, and then underneath is the heel bone or the calcaneum there. If you were looking underneath the foot, you would see the ball of the heel of the foot. So you know, looking at this foot, that actually you're looking at the top of the foot because you can see the talus, square ankle bone there. Each foot has 26 bones, 100 ligaments, and 33 joints or articulates. It's quite a complex little piece of engineering, very clever piece of anatomy. And then we've asked you to look at the arches of the foot. I think often when you look at a foot, you think, you know, we've only got one arch, but actually that there are more. There's the medial arch, which runs across transversely, sorry, the transverse arch, which runs across the foot. So that gives your foot this curve in here. The foot isn't flat like that. It does actually curve inwards. You can feel it when you're actually treating somebody. And then you've got the medial longitudinal arch, which is on the medial side of the foot. So that is near to, underneath the big toe, running from the big toe down to the heel, which is usually a bit higher than the lateral arch. The lateral longitudinal arch runs down the outside of the foot, and it's usually a little bit shallower on most people. On people that have got flat feet, all of the arches have collapsed. They've got no medial arch, no lateral arch, and no transverse arch. So they're literally walking on flat feet. Okay. And then we'll go on to the communication skills, which we do cover practically in class. You know, we help you with this anyway when you're doing your consultation, but it's important to understand the theory and the background behind communication skills. If you're already somebody who's client facing, who deals with people, a lot of this will become second nature to you. But we do go over it just so that anybody who hasn't got those skills can understand where we're coming from. So you're asked to fill in the gaps on here from the Ruth Hull book. So we'll just go through that. The concept of communication can be defined as transmitting and receiving of information, and good communication skills are integral to reflexology. Communication begins when your client books their treatment. At this early stage, you are already forming a picture of each other. And this is something, when we ask you to do your market research, we ask you to phone up and make an appointment with somebody. And it's interesting to hear your feedback on what you thought about your first communication with your therapist, because it often starts on that first call, that first phone call, and it can make or break a booking. If you don't take to that person, or they're not very professional or not very friendly or whatever, it might make the difference between whether you book with them or not. So it's quite a very important stage actually in the communication process. What can we pick up from his or her voice or the way that she speaks? Does this say something about your client? So you're trying to pick up things from your client with your just from the voice on the phone, and they're picking things up from you as well. So it's really important you make that first impression using your voice. From the moment your clients walk through the door, you are communicating with them. You as the therapist can begin to assess them by taking in things like appearance, posture, movements, and expressions. So you're going to be picking up a lot about your client, and they're going to be picking up things about you. So it's important that you pay attention to your appearance, posture, movements, and expressions. The way in which a person dresses and cares for themselves says a lot about their self-esteem and who they are. We touched on this a little bit last session when I explained about how we want you to notice, make observations in your case studies about how your clients present, not just what they say to you or what they fill in on their form, but actually how they appear. So a lot about how a person dresses and cares for themselves can give you a clue as to their well-being as well. And then you need to be aware that how you are dressed and how you greet your client and welcome them, and how it makes a difference as to how you make them feel. You don't want to think that somebody's feeling uncomfortable because of anything to do with you. Be aware of both the tone and pitch of your voice and theirs. So think about how loud you're speaking or how loud they're speaking, or if they're very quiet. The pitch can tell you a lot about whether they're nervous or excited or depressed or fed up. Be aware of their body odour and of your personal hygiene, or the body's inability to eliminate waste properly can be smelled on a person before it's seen. Again, it might tell you something about how well they're looking after themselves. If they're not taking care of themselves personally, it can be a sign of if they're not caring about themselves or if they're depressed. And again, it's something you need to be aware of on yourself as well. Be aware of how your client shakes your hand and you theirs. Not everybody does shake hands. I don't tend to personally as a therapist. I don't tend to, it's not something I go in and say, hello. But if they offer a hand, because some people do naturally, especially men, male clients will often come in and just expect to shake your hand, and that's fine. I always reciprocate and shake hands, but it's not something I do as a therapist. I think it's a bit more sort of, I don't know, business-like, but you might have other ideas. I don't know about you, Jackie, whether it's something that you do as a therapist. Is it something you do?
No, but
No,
I think you're right. Well, particularly now we can't anyway.
no.
But I think yes, I think the male. I think it's just a greeting, like you say, in the business
Yeah,
world, and it depends on their background.
yeah,
And so I think a firm handshake without crushing is a good one.
yeah, yeah. And you can tell, if somebody's very dominant or very, they might really grip and squeeze your hand, and other people are very light, just a token sort of handshake.
Yeah.
So decide for yourself whether it's something you're going to do as a habit is to greet your clients.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about the dress because I think as a therapist, it's important to look the part, really. You don't have to look, and it could be a polo shirt, it could be another kind, but I know that for myself, if somebody maybe looks a bit like they've just come in from the garden and they've washed their hands, or just come in from Tesco, and
Yeah,
it doesn't really fill me with confidence that they were looking forward to giving me a treatment, because they're just sort of fitting it in with everything else. Oh, I better stop,
yeah.
they're coming in. So I think it's a good
They need to look
idea
like they've made an effort.
to make an effort. Yeah, I think it is.
Mm.
It's showing respect to the person that's coming in and paying your money to
Yeah,
for a professional treatment. It's just a little anecdote that I remember years ago when I was teaching Indian head massage in Brentwood, in Essex, and we were talking about this sort of thing. And one of the it was a guy actually, and he said, "Oh, we have really professional Indian head massage therapists coming in to work in the city in London." I said, "Oh," I said, "what makes you call them professional?" And it was the uniform.
mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was the uniform. They had a clipboard. They had, they all matched, and that gave him that
That
idea,
impression.
that impression, and that
Yeah.
stuck with me. And I thought, well, yes, it does actually matter.
And I think the other thing as well, I always find it's part of the preparation of a working day as a therapist is like preparing your room, getting everything ready, get your paper ready, and like putting your uniform on, tying your hair back, yeah, making sure your nails are clean and short. And
Yeah,
that kind of puts you into work mode and
yeah,
professional mode. And I think it helps to prepare you and your attitude towards work so that it is a professional relationship
yeah,
with the client rather than a friend or just somebody who you're fitting in, and it helps to maintain those boundaries as well because you have got that professional relationship prepared in advance so that you're not, I don't know, it kind of like, okay, I'm putting my uniform on, that's therapy dawn now, I'm
yeah,
a therapist now, and I'm not going to cross those lines of being too friendly or talking about myself and that sort of thing. I think it's almost like a little cloak you put on and you become that therapist for the day.
yeah.
And then when you take it off, when you get, same thing, you take it off, you
Yeah,
get home and you're back to normal.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Especially if you're working at home as well, from
yeah,
a room at home. Then otherwise, if you just did it in your jeans and t-shirt, you'd never be off, would you?
yeah,
It would be
yeah.
the same. So, yeah,
No difference.
no,
Yeah. So we've got Hashi here. He is in your book. A little anecdotes and things in there, little things that he said. He wrote a book called Reading the Body. He's a shiatsu guy. I did read up about him a long time ago, and I nearly ordered his book. You can get it on eBay and Amazon. I think it's quite old. I think he wrote it a long time ago, but it looks quite fascinating. But I never got around to buying it. But he does a lot. Of work on reading the body, and he's the one who wrote all about, what shaking a person's hand means. And he says that whenever we shake a person's hand, we sense his or her character. So if you get a chance, have a little research, look him up. You might even want to buy his book. And then we've got listening skills. Listening skills are a vital part of your role as a therapist, and a good listener encourages clients to help themselves and find their own solutions. As a reflexologist, you are not there to advise or judge your client, you are there simply to listen. And what do we mean by listening skills? So, listening skills include the following: listening quietly, not talking about yourself or your own problems, asking open questions, not giving advice, offering different. What you're doing is you're not necessarily giving advice unless you're qualified in something, but you're offering your client different options so they can make their own decisions. Not judging, and allowing the client to lead the conversation. So basically, it's all about your client and it's not about you. You're going to actively listen to them and help them to come to their own conclusions and decisions about their health.
Yeah.
Not judging, I think, is a really important one. Um, I think as human beings, we do have a tendency sometimes to judge other people, perhaps for not looking after themselves or whatever. But that's not what you're there for. You're there to guide. They've come to you, so they've made a step towards helping themselves. So don't judge them and just meet them halfway, and do what you can for them within your qualifications and your training. Listening skills are something, obviously, that if you do a counselling course, you get a lot more training on that. So it might be something that you might want to add, a counselling skills course after you've finished your training, which will help you even further on
Yeah.
this. A lot of you will have these skills already because of the jobs that you do, but it's something that we look out for when you're doing your consultations.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important to listen, and that was something that it took me 2 terms of a counselling skills course. The first term wasn't enough to me. It was, I done it in adult education in Essex, and because I really wanted to fix everybody, and it took me a while to appreciate that I couldn't. E-
Yeah,
Even though I thought reflexology was magic, I was doing aromatherapy, massage as well, and the mixing up the oils and doing all different things and the batch remedies. But the key thing that I learned is that sometimes people just want somebody to tell this problem to, and you don't need, they're not expecting you to solve it, they are just telling you, and you just need to acknowledge the fact that they're going through a difficult position at the time. And
yeah,
I just want to say something about the judging. It's just that I remember I was going through a difficult time myself. I mean, therapists are the same as anybody else. We go through difficult times. And this person came in and they were telling me it was something that didn't occur to me of being an important thing. It was something that their cat was poorly or something. I remember thinking, oh, I wish that's all I had to worry about is a poorly cat. I didn't say that, but when this person then told me what was going on in their life, it was horrendous. The cat was a small part of it, and it was almost like the last straw because of
yeah,
everything else that had happened. And I thought, well, I'd been so quickly in my head to think, oh, they'd got nothing else going on apart from the cat. And actually they did. They did. And so I learned a lesson there
yeah,
to to not be so quick to think, oh, you know,
yeah.
just lost the being body. Here we are, body language.
About that, can we?
No.
Right. So body language is really an interesting one, and the more you learn about body language and what things mean and everything, you sort of can get a little bit sort of obsessed with watching people. I remember when I first did this course like years and years ago, and you start to notice people's body language a lot more, and you're watching TV, watching the news and watching how people are crossing their legs or turning away in a certain way or crossing their arms, and it becomes quite fascinating. So researchers believe that non-verbal communication forms about 50% of all communication, which is an awful lot, isn't it? When taking your client's consultation, be aware of your body language, their body language and yours. This is something we were talking about last session, and trying to get people to be a lot more open in their body language and not turn legs or like cross arms. But then we talked about interpreting some of why people might be doing that, crossing their arms. Are they putting up a barrier? Are they like, oh, I really don't want to tell you, very much about myself, you know, or they might just be feeling a little bit sort of cross or fed up that day. It might not be anything to do with you,
No,
and
I don't
it might be
think
just the way they've arrived.
that's,
uh,
you don't have to take it personally, do you?
no, that's right. And I think the thing is I can't remember who it was I was talking to last session, but I say, you know, it's the therapist's job almost to break through those barriers and try and soften the edges, and make them feel relaxed enough to let down those barriers, and talk to you, and tell you why they're there and what the issues they've got.
I just
So
must tell you a funny story, sorry.
go on then. Go on.
As you know, I go this cold water swimming, open water swimming, and was two of the ladies were in the water, and I went to take their picture, and one's got her arms like this. You see, she's going like this. I said, "Oh, don't cross your arms. You look cold." Because people go, "Oh, it must be cold," and because she looked like she was freezing.
Yeah,
She's,
I
it was
know what you're going to say.
what? Yeah,
Go on.
it was her boobs that she was
Yeah,
trying to cover up, and
yeah,
I'd got it all wrong, of course,
yeah.
and
Yeah, some people are a bit sort of conscious, aren't they? You
yeah,
know,
because she didn't have a
yeah.
holding bra thing up, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." Yeah, I still
Oh
couldn't
dear.
avoid it.
Yeah, people will often cover up a part of their body that they're a bit embarrassed about,
Yeah,
or you know, if people are embarrassed about their teeth, they'll often talk like
yeah,
this,
yeah,
won't they? You know, and you look at I've looked at photographs of myself sometimes, and my hand is on my tummy all the time. It's because I think, oh God, you know, I don't want people to see my tummy. You know, everybody's got something, haven't they? A little bit of a something they don't want people to see.
yeah,
Um, so when we're talking about sitting close to the client, you need to sit close enough that you are paying attention, but not too close that you're going to make somebody feel uncomfortable. So we talk about that in the practical as well. Avoid sitting at a desk. If a lot of places, a lot of treatment rooms, they do have like a little table or something to do the consultation first before the client sits down. But quite often it's quite nice to have like a coffee table, something low, not something really high, so that you've still got that open feeling across the table. Or if there's a desk, try and sit the chairs so that they're not opposite sides of the desk, sort of on a corner, so you've still got that openness there. Avoid crossing legs and arms. That's you as a therapist. You can't really do much about how your client presents, but you might notice that after a while they uncross their legs or their arms, so they've relaxed then a little bit more. Avoid fidgeting or playing with anything in your hands. It's quite if you're nervous about doing a consultation, or you feel uncomfortable, it can show in like you're fiddling with your pen or something. So try and be conscious of that. They don't want to see you feeling nervous. They'll think you don't know what you're doing. Um, Maintaining eye contact. This is so not everybody finds this easy. Maintaining eye contact. And I was told like years ago, when I was doing presentations in my previous job, my previous life. I used to have to stand up and do presentations, and I used to find that the worst thing ever. And I was told about making eye contact, but you look gently past the person so that you're not staring them in the eye and like making them feel uncomfortable. Because I've been in an audience and things before, and somebody stared right at me, and it's made me feel really uncomfortable. But you can look in a very gentle way at somebody, and it's like just soften your focus so that you're looking at them, but you're not staring at them. I've known people that I've worked with in the past that have this real, they'll come up to talk to you and give you it's like staring at you like this, and it puts you on the back foot straight away. You think, oh, I don't know, I feel really awkward, I don't know what to say. So try and practice your eye contact with somebody at home, so that you know that you're getting it right. But eye contact shows that you're listening.
yeah. Could I just
um,
say something about
yeah,
the eye contact? And one of the things I learned at the counselling skills is that even if they're looking around the room, you can continue looking their way, because when they look back, if you're not looking at them, they might think that that they are boring you,
lost interest,
and
yeah.
you've lost interest, and you're looking out the window at
Mm.
somebody parking the car, and they've looked, and you think that they're not going to look, well, they will. So you need to be there for them. And so that you're softly focused, as Dawn said, so that when they do look at you again, and the worst thing is that you're looking at your watch when they turn around. Oh my
Yeah,
God. That you
that's not good.
can almost guarantee that if you look at your watch, that is when they will look back. It's just it's a
Yeah,
given. So that's why it's important to have a clock in the place behind them or on the table that you can just see without making it obvious, because you don't want the consultation to go over 15 minutes anyway, which
yeah,
I have done. I mean, I've done
yeah,
it all wrong, and
yeah.
you know, and had to learn. So you don't go have a conversation that lasts forever and keep it, but
Mm.
don't, for goodness sake, look at your watch.
Yeah,
Horrible.
it's awful, isn't it? So really, I mean, be confident, relax, and smile. You know, somebody's there for something nice. They're there for a lovely treatment, a relaxing treatment. So they want to see somebody in that room that's also relaxed and is smiling and doesn't look rushed or frustrated or annoyed that they're there even. I have actually been to treatments in places before where I've actually felt like that, where I'm thinking, well, you don't look relaxed or comfortable at all. And one point I will make on that is that you need to be prepared for each client, because if you're not and you're thinking, oh crikey, I've got to do this, that, and the other, I'm not ready for this person, it will show. So if you make sure that you are completely ready for that client so that you can relax and enjoy the treatment. Okay. So we've asked you to fill some advantages and disadvantages in. This is something that we'll just go through briefly here, but it'd be interesting on Sunday if we could have a little chat about some of these and just see what your ideas are, because we've put some stuff in that we've come up with, but you might have come up with something different.
Mm.
So we've got verbal communication. So one advantage of verbal, written words can be misunderstood, whereas when you're talking to somebody, your tone is clear. We've all had that text or email, haven't we, where we thought, oh God, this person's telling me off, or they're annoyed with me, or whatever. And then when you talk to them, say, oh no, that's not what I meant at all. I meant this. That's not how I meant it. So you can't get that across often in a written message. So verbal is a good way of clearly explaining something to somebody. Clients, the disadvantage would be that clients might forget what you've said. So if it's something important that you want to get across, give it verbally. It's like your aftercare. You can give it verbally, but on a bit of paper that they can take away as well, backs it up, and it's there for if they forget. Okay, and then we've got non-verbal. Obviously, an advantage of this is that you can pick up on non-verbal signs that we just talked about, such as body language from the client. This will allow you to both pick up on their mood and possible anxiety. So that will help you with your treatment plan and your treatment for them. A disadvantage would be if you're not even aware of it, and then you won't notice it. You have to think about it. And once you get into the habit of noticing non-verbal communication, you just get better and better at it. You notice a lot about people very quickly. And I always think that as therapists, we get very good at this. You know, if you're seeing a lot of people, you pick up on a lot of non-verbal stuff. And I know we give doctors a hard time, but I'm sure they're very good at this as well, because they're seeing so many people in a day. They will know a lot about you as soon as you come in and you sit down, I'm sure, without even asking you anything. So asking open questions. Um, they can be used to help the client open up and allow you to obtain information that you need, but a disadvantage might be that they don't know when to stop. So be careful if you're stuck for time. Don't ask too many open questions, especially if somebody obviously has a lot to say. You might be there a very long time and eat into your treatment time. You need to ask closed questions. They're good for getting basic information quickly. So name, address, doctor's information, contraindications, that sort of thing. So you can get the basic information quickly, and then you can expand on it with open questions. The yes and no nature of a closed question, however, may stop clients giving you all the information that you need. So it's using a balance of the two, open and closed, to get everything that you need. Okay, so listening. The advantage is really listening to clients can put them at their ease, and it also helps with building that client-therapist relationship. They might be embarrassed, on the other hand, they might be embarrassed that you're actively listening to them, because it might not be something they're used to. If they're not used to being listened to, they also might be embarrassed about some of the things they're telling you. So just bear that in mind. Look out for signs that they're embarrassed. Use of silence. People don't like silence, do they? A lot of, you leave a gap in a conversation with somebody, and like often people will want to fill it, which we put down there as an advantage, a disadvantage. They might be embarrassed that there's a gap in the conversation and feel that they need to plug that gap. However, used correctly, silence can be used to open a space for the client to talk, and silence is something good listeners do use.
That's it.
Okay, so that's it. That's the main sort of subjects for Sunday. We'll get the little foot out, the bones. We'll have a look at a foot. We'll go through the test. We'll go through anything that's come up on today's session that we've gone through now. If there's anything you want to ask, or anything you're not sure about that you'd like to cover a little bit more, then we'll do that on Sunday. We've got an hour before we get started on the practical, so we've got plenty of time to go through any queries on that, or pop a post on here before then. If you've got anything, we can answer it before then.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So yeah, it'd be good to know who's going to turn up
Yeah.
at 1 with me, and if you haven't got a pair of feet that you can practice on, then it would still be nice for you to check in, actually, if the others don't mind. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, but if because you can learn from watching what others do, and in fact you can learn an awful lot. If you've ever noticed that when you've paired up, the second one usually has a better bite of the cherry, because they've heard someone go, oh, you don't forget this bit and don't forget that bit. You think, oh, I remember that. So you'll learn a lot by observation. So hopefully, and we're just helping each other. We are just helping and supporting each other. We're not assessing you. We're just giving you the best opportunity to be practicing as well as you can. That's all.
Yeah.
We're just here to help you.
I think that's important as well, Jackie. What you just said is that at this stage, I mean, they're only on session 5. They're not being assessed at this stage. They're still being taught. They're still learning. It's just a case of, all we want you to do is get your hands on feet when you can, really, so that you don't get too far behind on the skill side of things. But we'll certainly do whatever we can, both on Zoom and in the class, for those that can get in.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay then. So we'll see you
Sunday.
on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah.